Welcome in, everybody, to the College Football Betting YouTube channel. Before we get to the video you came here for, please do me a very quick favor. Do your boy a solid. Go ahead, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Really does help me grow, really does help this audience grow. And, of course, we are going to be giving you good, unique, fun, informed college football betting content all season long. Also, of course, you can find full episodes of College Football Betting with Aaron Torres wherever you download podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, etc. Now let's get to the video you came here for. All right, everybody, I'm back. Good to be back. Let's start to wrap this Heisman Trophy special of College Football Betting with Aaron Torres. By now, you already know what I talked about. Talked about the 5 favorites. Do I like them? Do I not? C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, Caleb Williams, Will Anderson, and also Bijan Robinson. From there, I gave you 5 long shots that I do like. Jackson Smith and Jigba, Dylan Gabriel, Tyler Van Dyke, KJ Jefferson, and Jordan Addison. Now let's go ahead and wrap with 5 guys that just totally stay aways to me. You could hand me your hard-earned money, and I would say I can't bet it. I can't walk to the window and put down a bet on your behalf. Here are the 5 guys that are just total stay aways to me. The first one, probably not all that surprising. It is Quinn Ewers, the quarterback at Texas. And I'm not going to do what y'all think I'm going to do, which is just crush this guy for some of the off-the-field NIL stuff. And that's not why Quinn Ewers, to me, is not a viable candidate for the Heisman Trophy. But it's for a few reasons that maybe you haven't thought about. One, and I do think this is important, he hasn't even officially been named the starting quarterback yet at Texas. Now, part of that may be that Steve Sarkisian is trying to wait to make sure that Hudson Card, the backup, does not leave via the transfer portal before the season and basically leave them in a really tough spot. And I do think that Quinn Ewers will ultimately be the starting quarterback because whether he is really the best starting candidate for the job or not, Steve Sarkisian isn't going to bring in the former #1 recruit in the country and not play him. But I think it's also possible that part of the reason that maybe he hasn't, at least as I'm recording, and that's always subject to change by the time you guys and girls listen, I think it's at least possible Quinn Ewers may be a little bit rusty. And I think this is something that I don't think has been talked about a lot with Quinn Ewers. It's really been about 3 full years since he played a complete season of college of football in general. Last year, obviously, goes to Ohio State late. We can agree, we can disagree about all the NIL stuff, but I do understand the situation there. Goes to Ohio State, feels like he's missing out on life-changing money. Okay, not my decision, whatever. You do what you got to do. But what people forget, the year before that, in high school, and what was really his junior year, it was his junior year, last year of high school football because he didn't play as a senior. He got hurt midway through the year, only played 8 games. So we are now talking about going back to essentially the fall of 2019, to which the last time that he really played a consistent full season of high school football, and that was when he was basically a sophomore in high school. Now, to his credit, he was phenomenal. 45 touchdown passes in 14 games, so it's not to tear down what he did, but it's just been a really, really, really long time since he has played a lot of consistent high-level football. And so when you factor that in, when you factor in that it's Texas, and I think even though they signed a lot of high-profile skill position guys, I still think their best offensive linemen are super young and freshmen. They signed 2 5-stars in this most recent recruiting class, but I don't know that those guys are ready to compete at the highest level. And when you factor in also, they play Alabama week 2, and I just think, and I talked about it a little bit with Bijan Robinson, but there was a lot of Texas excitement in the offseason. Well, you look around, one, they really didn't fix anything on defense, and the defense was their downfall last year. Everybody says, well, they went 5-7. Casey Thompson led the Big 12 in passing touchdowns. But did you fix the defense? Because if you didn't fix the defense, it really doesn't matter. And 2, weird stuff is already starting to happen at Texas. They had 2 major injuries over the weekend in their first full scrimmage. Isaiah Nayor, high-profile wide receiver transfer, out for the year with an injury. Lost a starting offensive lineman for the year with injury. Listen, I believe that Texas will be improved. I believe that Quinn Ewers will be their starter. I just don't believe that this guy is going to be so good that he elevates the program to the place that it needs to be elevated for him to go ahead and win the Heisman Trophy. Let's keep it going, staying at 35-1. I just don't see Travion Henderson, the running back from Ohio State as a guy that is going to compete for or win the Heisman this year. And I understand the concept, superstar player, Ohio State's name brand. And the one thing that I will say about him is that he is the go-to back at Ohio State. As a true freshman last year, he was phenomenal. And I know everybody kind of compared him to kind of the all-time greats at Ohio State, and he did what Maurice Clarett did, only better, 1,248 yards, 15 touchdowns. But when I look at Ohio State, I just think there is so much offense to go around. But I do think that it is going to come down to, if Ohio State has a Heisman Trophy candidate, it's either going to be C.J. Stroud, who we've obviously talked about, or I think it's going to be Jackson Smith-Njigba at the wide receiver position doing unbelievable things, elevating his game, and it gets to the point where he's being talked about as a Heisman Trophy candidate. TreVeyon Henderson is really talented, but it's not that he's a bad player. I just don't know that he has the flash needed to be a legitimate Heisman Trophy candidate. And the one thing you also have to consider is this. Ryan Day, and again, I don't claim to be a scheme expert, but he's a brilliant play caller, but it is a pass-heavy offense. Just to confirm, I looked it up just to make sure I'm not going crazy. They had 494 pass attempts this past season, 423 rush attempts, which seems like a lot. But if you actually go game by game, rush by rush, they actually ranked 112th nationally in rush attempts. 112th nationally in rush attempts as opposed to the pass attempts where they ranked 14th nationally. The focus is just on the passing game. Now, the passing game in many ways sets up the running game as opposed to the opposite, which is how it usually is. But I just look at Ohio State. I think C.J. Stroud is a worthy favorite. I like Jackson Smith-Njigba as a long shot. I just don't see TreVeyon Henderson doing enough with so much talent around him to get into the mix. Let's keep it going with the guys that I do not like as Heisman Trophy candidates, and I'll try to, again, keep this quick. I'll say this. The Anthony Richardson hype is just too much. It's just too much. And I get it. He showed flashes, and he was kind of the inflection point with Dan Mullen last year, why Dan Mullen got fired. I don't want to say it was why. He got fired because he didn't win enough games. But there was this weird back and forth all season where Emory Jones really wasn't the guy. Anthony Richardson showed flashes. You got to play. At the time, he called himself AR-15. He's obviously said he doesn't want to use that nickname anymore for obvious reasons. But when you actually look at what he did on the field, like everyone gets so excited about him. Here's what you need to know. In his career, he's now entering his third year of college football. He has 66 career pass attempts, 59% completion percentage. Now, I understand that the rushing stats are absurd. Last year, he did rush 51 times, almost 8 yards per carry, and that's incredible. And I don't have any doubt that he is going to be incredible. But I think it's one thing to put him in as a spot guy, as a guy that can step in, make a play or two as a change of pace guy. I think it's quite another to be the only guy, to be the guy that has to carry the entire program. And so I've seen all sorts of Anthony Richardson hype this offseason. I think I saw one NFL draft guy, and NFL draft guys are like NBA draft guys. They're the worst. Everybody just wants to be unique and different. And I saw somebody, Anthony Richardson's the best prospect in this draft class. I know, I'll take Bryce Young. I'll take the guy that threw 47 touchdowns last year and almost won a national championship. I'll take C.J. Stroud, who threw 40-whatever touchdowns and was awesome. You keep Anthony Richardson. I don't see it. And then the other thing I think you have to consider, Florida plays a brutal schedule this year. And we did it on the over-under show, but I worry a little bit about Florida's schedule. Keep in mind, they open with Utah at home. They obviously play Georgia. Kentucky's got dudes now. They play LSU every year. They play Texas A&M this season. I mean, just look at that schedule. Just listen to what I just said. We know Kentucky plays real defense. We know Utah plays real defense. We know Georgia obviously speaks for itself. Texas A&M, the talent that they have there. I think you're talking about 4 or 5 top 30, top 25 defenses. And this guy's going to elevate the program. Their over-under is like 6.5. We talked about it a few weeks ago. You ain't winning the Heisman Trophy if you go 7-5. You're just not. And so Anthony Richardson, to me, is a total stay away. Speaking of just total stayaways, DJ Uiagalelei, 45-1. No freaking thank you. Don't wish any ill will upon anybody. I feel bad. I never thought the hype was justified. If you listen to this podcast when we opened it last year, I said I like DJ, but if you watched him closely, he has a little bit of accuracy issues. Well, no, he has a lot of bit of accuracy issues. 56% completion percentage, 10 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Now, credit to Dabo Swinney. Dabo Swinney's standing by him this offseason. Dabo Swinney's saying he's my guy. But come on now. We know how this stuff works. Dabo has already benched a vet to play a true freshman. Almost tripped over my own words there. It was called Kelly Bryant, who led Clemson to a college football playoff, and he got benched for Trevor Lawrence. You mean to tell me if Cade Klubnik's not the right guy, they're not going to go with Cade Klubnik at some point very early in the season this coming year? Dabo ain't trying to miss the college football playoff 2 years in a row. And as a matter of fact, if I was a betting man, I'd rather, if there was somehow to bet, does DJ get benched for Cade Klubnik? I'd take that bet before I'd take DJ at 45-1. Interestingly, Cade Klubnik's only 60-1. I just can't bet it because if he comes in, it'll mean Clemson's probably already taken a loss or two, and then you're already behind the eight ball. Then you have to be not only good but great to get Clemson back into the conversation. Finally, the fifth guy, stay away to me. You know, I feel bad. I'm not a Will Levis guy. The Will Levis stuff, I don't see. I certainly don't see a number one overall draft pick. I just gave his stats last year relative to KJ Jefferson. KJ Jefferson had basically the same stats. KJ Jefferson, 21 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 67% completion percentage. Will Levis, 24 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, 66% completion percentage. Had fewer rushing yards, almost half as many rushing yards as KJ Jefferson. I don't get it. And what I would say is a couple things when it comes to Will Levis. One, by far his best skill position guy, Wan'Dale Robinson, is gone. Now, I know they added some guys via the portal, and they're excited about that. The other thing is they lost their offensive coordinator, Liam Cohen, who went back to the NFL. And I know that their new offensive coordinator, they brought him in, and he's from the same coaching tree. Yeah, I've seen the coordinators from the same tree stuff, and it doesn't always work out. I think the other thing with Kentucky, and I talked about this on the Over-Under show, but they had some great statistical output on offense. But if you go back and go game by game, you can pick holes against the best teams that they played. They were one of the top. Their scoring numbers were through the roof. Their yardage were through the roof. But remember, they put up 52 against Louisville, 56 against New Mexico State, 42 against Tennessee, 45 against Louisiana Monroe. They also put up 16 against South Carolina. They put up 20 against Florida, and one of those touchdowns was special teams, so basically had 13 points of offensive production against Florida. 17 points against Mississippi State. So the better teams, Kentucky was fine to whatever. And so I look at Will Levis, and I don't see a guy that's winning the Heisman. I know it's a cool story. I know it's different. I know, oh, my God, so-and-so said he's going to be the number one pick in the draft. I just don't see it.